The Galactic Council's dismissal. Commander Vextar of the Zephyrian High Command stood before the massive holographic display in the war chamber, his four arms crossed in obvious disdain. The blue-scaled alien's eyes glowed with amusement as he watched footage of human military exercises. Around the circular chamber, representatives from 12 different alien species observed the same displays, their reactions ranging from mild curiosity to outright mockery. "Look at them," Vextar's voice carried across the chamber, his translator making his words sound sharp and condescending. These humans still use primitive kinetic weapons, throwing small metal projectiles at their enemies like savages hurling stones. The footage showed human soldiers training with various firearms, from assault rifles to heavy machine guns. The aliens watched as bullets struck targets, creating small holes and minimal damage compared to their advanced energy weapons. Admiral Corthan, a towering insectoid with compound eyes, clicked his mandibles in what passed for laughter among his species. "Their weapons are so crude. Our plasma cannons can vaporize entire buildings. Their little bullets barely scratch our armor plating." The Galactic Council had been monitoring Earth for decades, studying human technology and military capabilities as they prepared for what they called the Integration Protocol. It was a polite term for what amounted to conquest and enslavement of primitive species. Earth had been marked as their next target. "Intelligence reports indicate they have nuclear weapons," said Counselor Thrix, her serpentine body coiled around her floating platform. "But their delivery systems are laughably outdated. Our shield technology renders such weapons useless." Vextar gestured to another display showing human sniper training. A lone soldier lay prone on a hillside, firing single shots at distant targets. The aliens watched as the sniper hit targets at ranges exceeding 1,000 meters. "Even their so-called elite marksmen are pathetic," Vextar sneered. "One shot, one target. Our automated defense systems can eliminate hundreds of threats simultaneously. These humans cling to obsolete concepts like individual skill and precision when overwhelming firepower is clearly superior." The other council members murmured agreement. For over 3,000 years, the Galactic Council had expanded across the stars, absorbing civilization after civilization. Their technology was indeed superior. Energy shields that could deflect most attacks, plasma weapons that could level city blocks, and powered armor that made their soldiers nearly invincible against conventional weapons. "The humans have no concept of true warfare," continued Admiral Corthan. "They fight each other with these primitive weapons, never having faced a truly advanced enemy. Their largest conflicts involve perhaps millions of soldiers. We command fleets that can deploy billions of warriors." What the aliens failed to understand was the context behind human warfare. They saw only the weapons and tactics, not the desperation and innovation that drove human military development. Earth's history was written in conflict, each war pushing technology and strategy to new limits. The very limitations of human weapons had forced them to become creative, adaptive, and precise in ways the aliens couldn't comprehend. The holographic display shifted to show Earth's major population centers, cities sprawled across continents, billions of humans going about their daily lives, unaware that their planet was being evaluated for conquest. "The Integration Protocol will commence in 6 standard months," announced Supreme Chancellor Drexoth, the Council's leader. His crystalline body pulsed with bioluminescent patterns as he spoke. "Phase 1 involves establishing orbital control and eliminating their primitive military installations. Phase 2 will target population centers to demonstrate our superiority. Phase 3 involves ground occupation and the establishment of labor camps." The plan was methodical and had worked flawlessly on 47 previous worlds. The aliens would arrive with overwhelming force, crush any resistance, and integrate the surviving population into their galactic empire as a slave species. Earth's 7 billion humans would join trillions of other subjugated beings working in mines, factories, and agricultural centers across the galaxy. "What resistance should we expect from their military?" asked General Mordax, a hulking creature whose species had evolved from apex predators. His scarred hide spoke of countless battles across the galaxy. Vextar pulled up detailed files on Earth's military forces. Their largest military organizations command perhaps 3 million active personnel. They possess approximately 15,000 aircraft, 50,000 armored vehicles, and scattered naval forces. Against our third battle fleet alone, they would be outnumbered 50 to 1. The aliens had studied human military doctrine and found it wanting. Human soldiers required extensive training, expensive equipment, and constant resupply. The aliens could clone warriors by the millions, each one equipped with standardized weapons and armor that far exceeded anything humans could produce. "Their tactics are also primitive," added Intelligence Director Zixara, her multiple tentacles manipulating data streams. "They rely heavily on combined arms operations, coordinated air support, and complex logistics chains. Our strategy simply overwhelms their command and control capabilities, rendering such coordination impossible." What the aliens misunderstood was that human military doctrine had evolved not from abundance, but from scarcity. Every human soldier represented a significant investment of time, training, and resources. This had led to tactics that emphasized efficiency, adaptability, and the maximum effective use of limited assets. While alien forces relied on overwhelming numbers and superior technology, human forces had learned to achieve maximum effect with minimum resources. The Council members continued reviewing Earth's defenses, paying particular attention to what they considered the humans' most primitive aspect: their continued reliance on individual soldiers with personal weapons. In alien military doctrine, individual skill was largely irrelevant. Victory came from coordinated mass attacks using standardized equipment and tactics. "I find it amusing that they train individual marksmen," mused Counselor Thrix. "Such a waste of resources when area-effect weapons are clearly superior. Why aim precisely when you can simply destroy everything in a wide radius?" The aliens had long ago abandoned concepts like marksmanship and individual combat skills. Their weapons were designed for maximum area effect. Their tactics focused on overwhelming firepower delivered by massed formations. The idea that a single skilled human with an appropriate weapon could pose a significant threat was simply outside their conceptual framework. "The humans have no understanding of modern warfare," declared Vextar with finality. "They fight like primitives because they are primitives. Their weapons, their tactics, their entire military philosophy is centuries behind our own. The integration protocol will succeed as easily as it did on Kepler 442b or Gliese 667c. The mention of those worlds drew satisfied murmurs from the Council. Both planets had fallen within days of the alien fleet's arrival. Their populations, numbering in the hundreds of millions, had been quickly subdued and put to work serving the Galactic Empire. As the briefing concluded, the aliens began finalizing their invasion plans. Third Battle Fleet would approach Earth along the dark side of the solar system, avoiding detection until the last possible moment. Their first strike would target satellite networks and communication systems, blinding human defenses. Follow-up attacks would eliminate military bases and government centers. The aliens were particularly dismissive of Earth's space-based assets. Human satellites were primitive compared to their own technology, and the planet's small space stations could be easily destroyed. Earth's lack of significant off-world colonies meant the entire human species could be controlled by holding their home planet. What they failed to appreciate was that humans had spent centuries studying warfare, constantly adapting and improving their methods. Every conflict taught new lessons, every defeat drove innovation. The humans might lack advanced technology, but they possessed something the aliens had lost long ago: the ability to improvise, adapt, and overcome through individual initiative and creative thinking. The briefing files contained detailed analysis of human weapons. But the aliens focused only on their obvious limitations. They noted the relatively short range of most firearms, the limited ammunition capacity, and the apparent inefficiency of kinetic projectiles compared to energy weapons. They completely missed the precision, reliability, and versatility that made these weapons formidable in the right hands. More importantly, they failed to understand the human concept of asymmetric warfare. Throughout Earth's history, smaller forces had repeatedly defeated larger ones through superior tactics, better intelligence, and the effective use of terrain and technology. The aliens expected a conventional battle between massed forces, but humans had learned long ago that survival often depended on fighting unconventionally. As the Galactic Council finalized their plans for Earth's conquest, they remained confident in their superiority. Their technology was undeniably advanced, their forces overwhelmingly numerous, and their experience extensive. They had conquered dozens of worlds and absorbed trillions of beings into their empire. But in their arrogance, they had made a critical error. They had studied human weapons and tactics, but they had failed to study human nature. They saw the tools of war, but missed the warriors who wielded them. They understood the science of human firearms, but not the art of human warfare. The aliens prepared their fleets and readied their forces, certain that Earth would fall as easily as every other world they had conquered. They could not imagine that somewhere on the planet below, human soldiers were training with the same primitive weapons the aliens mocked, preparing for battles they couldn't yet imagine against enemies they had never seen. The countdown to invasion had begun, but neither side truly understood what they would face when the shooting started. The aliens saw only primitive weapons and outdated tactics. They had no concept of what a truly skilled human marksman could accomplish with the right weapon, the right training, and the desperate motivation to protect their home world. In 6 months, the Galactic Council would learn the difference between technological superiority and tactical superiority. They would discover that sometimes the most advanced weapon is the one in the hands of someone who truly knows how to use it. But for now, they continued planning their invasion, confident in their inevitable victory over Earth's primitive defenders and their laughably outdated firearms. First Contact and First Blood. The massive alien mothership dropped out of hyperspace at the edge of Earth's solar system, its hull stretching over 15 kilometers in length. Within hours, smaller vessels began emerging from its hangar bays like metallic wasps from a disturbed nest. The invasion fleet consisted of over 300 ships carrying more than 2 million alien warriors equipped with technology that humanity could barely comprehend. Admiral Sarah Chen stood in the Pentagon's Emergency Command Center, watching satellite feeds as the alien fleet approached Earth. The vessels moved with impossible grace, their energy signatures unlike anything human science had encountered. Around her, the world's military leaders struggled to comprehend the magnitude of what they faced. "Estimated time to Earth orbit?" she asked, her voice steady despite the circumstances. 18 hours at current velocity, replied Colonel Martinez, his fingers dancing across holographic displays. "They're not even trying to hide their approach. It's like they want us to see them coming." The aliens had made no attempt at communication, offering no ultimatums or demands. Their intent was clear from their formation and approach vector. This was not a diplomatic mission. Every military installation on Earth had been placed on maximum alert, though everyone knew their conventional weapons would be largely ineffective against such advanced technology. In the remote mountains of Afghanistan, Staff Sergeant Marcus "Ghost" Riley adjusted his position behind a rocky outcropping, his weathered hands checking the scope on his custom-built rifle for the 100th time that day. The weapon was a masterpiece of precision engineering, capable of hitting targets at distances exceeding 2 miles under ideal conditions. Riley had used it to eliminate high-value targets across 3 continents, earning a reputation as one of the deadliest marksmen in human history. "Still think those alien bastards are going to land ground troops?" asked Corporal James Hudson, Riley's spotter, as he scanned the horizon through high-powered binoculars. Riley nodded grimly. "They didn't come this far just to glass us from orbit. They want something from Earth, which means they need to take territory and hold it. And when they do," he patted his rifle affectionately, "we'll be waiting." The sniper team was part of a hastily organized resistance network, positioned at strategic locations around potential landing zones. Military analysts had identified likely targets based on the aliens' approach vectors and Earth's defensive positions. If the invaders wanted to establish ground control, they would need to secure key infrastructure points. As the alien fleet entered Earth's outer atmosphere, their true size became apparent. The smaller vessels were still massive by human standards, each one capable of carrying thousands of warriors. They moved in perfect formation, their hulls shimmering with energy fields that deflected the desperate missile attacks launched by Earth's space-based defenses. Commander Vextar stood on the bridge of his assault cruiser, watching human resistance crumble before his forces. The primitive missiles and energy weapons that humanity threw at them were barely registering on their defensive shields. It was exactly as the Council had predicted. Overwhelming technological superiority rendering human resistance irrelevant. "Target the major population centers first," he ordered his weapons officers. "A demonstration of power will accelerate their surrender." The alien strategy was simple and effective. Establish orbital dominance, destroy military resistance, then deploy ground forces to secure key objectives. They had performed this operation dozens of times on other worlds. The humans would resist initially, then despair would set in as they realized the futility of fighting such advanced technology. The first alien landing craft touched down outside major cities around the globe. Each vessel disgorged hundreds of warriors in powered armor, their weapons systems far beyond anything humans could field. The alien soldiers moved with mechanical precision, their movements coordinated by advanced battlefield networks that allowed instantaneous communication and tactical updates. Resistance was fierce, but brief in most locations. Human tanks and artillery proved ineffective against alien armor and energy shields. Fighter jets were swatted from the sky by point defense systems that could track and destroy dozens of targets simultaneously. Within hours, major military installations had fallen or been evacuated as alien forces advanced across the globe. But the aliens had made their first critical error. They had underestimated human adaptability and the effectiveness of guerrilla warfare tactics. While conventional forces were overwhelmed, smaller units began implementing asymmetric strategies developed through decades of irregular warfare experience. Riley and Hudson watched through their scopes as alien dropships landed in the valley below their position. The creatures that emerged were intimidating, 3 meters tall in their powered armor, moving with inhuman speed and precision. Their weapons glowed with contained energy that could punch through tank armor. "Count 48 hostiles," Hudson whispered into his radio. "Heavy weapons, energy shields visible on their armor." Advancing toward the communications array. Riley studied the alien formation through his scope. They moved like a well-drilled military unit, but their tactics were completely conventional. They advanced in standard formations with predictable patterns, relying on their technological superiority to overwhelm any resistance. "They're not expecting sniper fire," Riley observed. "Look at their spacing, their movement patterns. They've never faced precision long-range weapons." The aliens had indeed never encountered effective sniper tactics. In their experience, primitive kinetic weapons lacked the range and power to threaten their advanced armor. Their tactical doctrine emphasized overwhelming firepower and technological advantage, not individual skill or precision shooting. Riley selected his target carefully, the alien commander, identifiable by different markings on his armor and his position at the center of the formation. The range was just over 1,800 meters, well within his capabilities, but far beyond what the aliens considered a threat range for human weapons. He controlled his breathing, calculated wind speed and atmospheric conditions, and gently squeezed the trigger. The custom .50 caliber round left the barrel at nearly 3,000 feet per second, its trajectory calculated with mathematical precision. The bullet struck the alien commander's center mass, the kinetic energy focused into a tungsten core designed to penetrate advanced armor materials. The alien's energy shield flared and failed, the round punching through his chest plate and devastating his internal organs. The creature dropped instantly, his weapon clattering across the rocky ground. For a moment, the alien formation stopped in confusion. They had never experienced anything like this. A lethal attack from an invisible enemy at extreme range. Their sensors detected the muzzle flash, but the shooter had already relocated to a different position. "Confirmed kill on primary target," Riley whispered into his radio. "Relocating to position 2. The aliens quickly adapted, spreading out and activating additional defensive protocols. But they were fighting an enemy they didn't understand, using tactics their technology wasn't designed to counter. Every time they thought they had located the sniper, he had already moved to a new position. Hudson called out new targets as the alien patrol attempted to reorganize. "Secondary commander, bearing 270, range 1,600 meters. Riley's second shot took down another officer, sending the alien formation into complete disarray. They began firing wildly at suspected sniper positions, their energy weapons carving chunks out of the mountainside, but failing to locate their attackers. What the aliens couldn't comprehend was the fundamental difference between their military doctrine and human sniper tactics. Their weapons were designed for maximum destruction over wide areas, perfect for conventional battles between massed forces. But a skilled sniper could remain hidden, select targets precisely, and disappear before retaliation was possible. Riley and Hudson spent the next 4 hours systematically eliminating alien soldiers from multiple positions. Each shot was carefully planned and executed, targeting commanders and specialists to disrupt the alien formation's cohesion. By the time alien reinforcements arrived, the original patrol had been reduced to scattered, demoralized survivors. Similar scenes were playing out across the globe as human sniper teams engaged alien forces. The aliens had expected resistance from tanks, aircraft, and massed infantry formations. They were completely unprepared for precision attacks from concealed positions at extreme ranges. Commander Vextar received increasingly disturbing reports from ground commanders. Patrol after patrol was being attacked by invisible enemies using weapons that seemed to violate the laws of physics. How could primitive kinetic weapons penetrate advanced alien armor? How could humans accurately engage targets at ranges exceeding their theoretical capabilities? "Impossible," he muttered, reviewing combat footage from the surface. "Their weapons lack the energy output to defeat our shielding systems." But the evidence was undeniable. Alien casualties were mounting, not from massed human attacks that could be countered with superior firepower, but from individual precision strikes that seemed to come from nowhere. The aliens' tactical advantage was being negated by an enemy that refused to fight conventionally. What Vextar failed to understand was that human sniper rifles weren't designed to match alien energy output. They were designed to focus kinetic energy into incredibly small points with devastating effect. A .50 caliber round weighing less than 2 ounces could deliver more focused destructive power than an alien plasma bolt, simply because all that energy was concentrated into a tungsten penetrator smaller than a pencil. Moreover, human snipers had been trained to operate independently, to think creatively, and to exploit any advantage the environment provided. While alien forces relied on networked communication and standardized tactics, human marksmen adapted their strategies to each unique situation. Riley and Hudson relocated to a new area of operations as alien search parties combed the mountains behind them. The aliens were learning, deploying sensors and drones to detect muzzle flashes and heat signatures, but they were still thinking conventionally, expecting their enemy to remain in fixed positions and engage in sustained firefights. "They're getting smarter," Hudson observed as alien aircraft swept the area with scanning beams. "But they're still thinking like soldiers, not like hunters." Riley smiled grimly as he selected a new target through his scope. "Then let's teach them the difference." The shot that followed would become legendary in human military history, a single bullet traveling over 2 miles to strike an alien general inspecting his troops. The round passed through 2 different energy fields, struck the target with enough force to penetrate his command armor, and eliminated one of the invasion force's senior leaders. The psychological effect on alien forces was devastating. If their commanders weren't safe even in the middle of heavily defended positions, surrounded by the most advanced technology in the galaxy, then nowhere was safe. The humans weren't just fighting back. They were hunting alien forces with a precision and effectiveness that violated every principle of the aliens' military doctrine. As reports of similar incidents flooded in from around the globe, the Galactic Council began to realize they had made a fundamental miscalculation. The humans weren't fighting like a primitive civilization, desperately throwing obsolete weapons at an advanced enemy. They were fighting like experienced predators, using every advantage their environment and training provided. The invasion was proceeding, but not according to plan. Ground forces were bogging down as sniper attacks disrupted their advance. Casualties were mounting in ways the aliens had never experienced. For the first time in their military history, they were facing an enemy that could strike effectively without being detected or engaged in return. The aliens had mocked human firearms as primitive and ineffective. Now they were learning that in the hands of skilled operators, those same weapons could be devastatingly effective against even the most advanced technology. The war for Earth had begun, and the first lessons were already being written in alien blood across a dozen battlefields. The turning of the tide. 3 weeks into the invasion, Commander Vextar stood in his command chamber aboard the mothership, his 4 arms trembling with barely contained rage. The holographic displays around him showed casualty reports that defied explanation. His supposedly invincible ground forces had suffered over 30,000 casualties, with entire battalions paralyzed by fear of invisible human snipers. "How is this possible?" he demanded, his translator conveying his frustration to the assembled officers. "Our armor is rated to withstand direct plasma cannon fire. Our shields can deflect concentrated energy beams. Yet these humans are cutting through our forces with primitive kinetic weapons." Intelligence Director Zix Ara manipulated several data streams with her tentacles, pulling up combat analysis reports. "The humans are not engaging us conventionally, Commander. They strike from concealed positions at extreme ranges, targeting our command structure specifically. Our tactical doctrine assumes direct engagement with massed enemy forces. The aliens had conquered 47 worlds, but they had never faced an enemy like humanity. Every previous species had fought conventionally, meeting alien technology with whatever advanced weapons they possessed. The humans were different. They fought with cunning, patience, and a level of individual skill that the aliens had never encountered. Staff Sergeant Riley crouched in an abandoned building overlooking the alien staging area outside Denver, Colorado. In the 3 weeks since the invasion began, he had become something of a legend among human resistance fighters. His confirmed kill count stood at over 200 alien soldiers, including 17 officers and 3 generals. "Target-rich environment," whispered Corporal Hudson, scanning the area through his spotting scope. "Looks like they're massing for another push into the city." Riley studied the alien formation through his rifle scope. The invaders had adapted some of their tactics, increasing spacing between units and deploying more sensors, but they still moved with the mechanical precision that made them predictable to experienced hunters. "They're learning," Riley acknowledged, "but they're learning the wrong lessons. They think this is about technology and tactics. They don't understand that this is about will." The human resistance had evolved as well. Initial conventional resistance had been crushed within days, but the surviving military units had quickly adapted guerrilla warfare tactics. Small teams of specialists, often built around skilled marksmen, were conducting precision strikes against alien forces across the globe. What made the human resistance so effective wasn't just their weapons or tactics, it was their motivation. They weren't fighting for conquest or expansion like the aliens. They were fighting for survival, for their families, for their home world. That desperation drove them to levels of creativity and determination that the aliens couldn't comprehend. Riley selected his target carefully, an alien commander coordinating the deployment of heavy weapons platforms. The range was over 2,000 meters, at the very edge of his effective shooting distance. But he had made similar shots dozens of times over the past weeks. The custom rifle had been modified even further during the campaign. Human engineers and armorers had studied recovered alien technology, developing new ammunition specifically designed to penetrate alien armor. The bullets now carried depleted uranium cores surrounded by tungsten penetrators, focused into points smaller than a needle. Riley controlled his breathing and squeezed the trigger. The hypersonic round crossed the distance in less than 2 seconds, striking the alien commander with devastating effect. The creature's energy shield overloaded from the kinetic impact, his armor cracking like an eggshell as the penetrator punched through his torso. The psychological effect was immediate. The alien formation scattered as soldiers sought cover, their precise coordination dissolving into chaos. This was the pattern that had repeated across dozens of battlefields. Human snipers weren't just killing alien soldiers, they were destroying alien morale and tactical cohesion. "Confirmed kill," Riley reported into his radio, moving to secondary position. But this time, the aliens were ready. Advanced sensors had triangulated his position within seconds of the shot, and alien aircraft were already converging on the building. Riley and Hudson had perhaps 90 seconds before their position was overrun. "Time to go," Hudson said urgently, packing his equipment. They moved through the building's interior, using prepared escape routes that took advantage of human familiarity with urban terrain. The aliens excelled at open battlefield tactics, but they struggled with the three-dimensional complexity of city fighting. Humans could move through buildings, sewers, and underground passages that alien forces couldn't effectively monitor or control. As they reached their extraction point, Riley paused to watch alien troops securing the building he had just vacated. The creatures moved cautiously now, their confidence shattered by weeks of sniper attacks. They had come to Earth expecting easy victory over primitive defenders, but instead found themselves hunted by an enemy they couldn't see or predict. The broader war was turning as well. While alien forces still controlled most major cities and infrastructure, they were finding it impossible to fully pacify any territory. Human resistance cells operated behind alien lines, striking at supply convoys and command posts before disappearing into terrain the aliens couldn't effectively patrol. More importantly, human military leaders were beginning to understand alien weaknesses. The invaders' greatest strength, their reliance on advanced technology and networked communications, was also their greatest vulnerability. Human forces were developing tactics specifically designed to exploit these weaknesses. Admiral Chen stood in the relocated command center buried deep beneath the Rocky Mountains, studying intelligence reports from resistance cells worldwide. The picture they painted was encouraging. Alien forces were spread thin, demoralized, and increasingly defensive in their operations. "The snipers are having an effect beyond their kill counts," reported Colonel Martinez. Alien formations are moving slower, using more resources for force protection and avoiding aggressive operations. They're learning to fear our marksmen." Chen nodded, understanding the strategic implications. Fear is a weapon they never expected to face. Their doctrine assumes overwhelming technological superiority will break enemy morale. They never considered that their own morale could be broken. The aliens had made a fundamental error in their understanding of human psychology. They had studied human weapons and tactics, but they had failed to understand the human capacity for adaptation and resistance. Every setback only strengthened human resolve, while every casualty shattered alien confidence. Commander Vextar was discovering this reality firsthand as reports continued flooding in from the surface. Alien commanders were requesting additional reinforcements, their advance stalled by human resistance. What should have been a quick conquest was turning into a grinding campaign with no clear end in sight. "Perhaps we should reconsider our approach," suggested Admiral Corthan during an emergency council session. "The humans are proving more resilient than anticipated." Vextar's pride wouldn't allow such an admission. "They are primitives with obsolete weapons. We simply need to adjust our tactics to account for their unconventional methods." But the adjustments weren't working. Every time alien forces adapted to counter human sniper tactics, the humans evolved new methods. They began coordinating multiple sniper teams, creating complex ambushes that struck from several directions simultaneously. They developed new ammunition types that could penetrate even improved alien armor. Most importantly, they began training more marksmen, spreading their deadly skills across a growing resistance network. Riley's team had grown from 2 operators to a full company of snipers and support personnel. They moved through the countryside like ghosts. Striking at alien positions before vanishing into terrain they knew intimately. Each successful mission taught them new lessons about alien weaknesses and vulnerabilities. "The key is patience," Riley explained to a group of newly trained marksmen. "They expect us to fight like them. Aggressive, direct, overwhelming force. Instead, we wait, we watch, we strike when they're vulnerable, and we disappear before they can respond." The human approach was antithetical to everything the aliens understood about warfare. Where alien doctrine emphasized speed, coordination, and technological superiority, human tactics relied on stealth, patience, and individual initiative. The combination was proving devastatingly effective. As months passed, the strategic situation continued to deteriorate for the alien forces. Their advanced technology required complex supply chains and maintenance systems that human resistance was systematically disrupting. Sniper attacks on key personnel were crippling their command structure, while guerrilla operations were destroying their logistical capabilities. Most critically, the aliens were running out of time. Their invasion fleet had been designed for a quick conquest, followed by occupation duties. Extended combat operations were draining their resources at an unsustainable rate. The Galactic Council was demanding results that Vextar couldn't deliver. Riley crouched on a mountainside overlooking the alien command complex outside what had once been Denver. Intelligence indicated that Vextar himself was planetside, attempting to personally coordinate the failing invasion. It was an opportunity that might not come again. "Range to target?" he asked Hudson. 2,800 meters. Wind negligible, atmospheric conditions stable. Riley studied the alien compound through his scope. The target was barely visible, a figure in distinctive command armor moving between buildings under heavy guard. It was the longest shot he had ever attempted, at the absolute limit of his weapon's capabilities. But he had practiced for this moment. The rifle had been modified one final time, equipped with experimental ammunition developed specifically for this mission. If successful, the shot would decapitate the alien invasion force and potentially end the war. Riley controlled his breathing, calculated every variable, and gently squeezed the trigger. The round left the barrel at over 4,000 feet per second, its trajectory a perfect arc across the intervening distance. For nearly 3 seconds, the fate of two species hung in the balance as the bullet crossed the space between human determination and alien arrogance. The round struck Commander Vextar's center mass, the kinetic energy so focused and intense that it overloaded every defensive system on his armor simultaneously. The alien commander dropped instantly, his death witnessed by hundreds of subordinates who had believed him invincible. The psychological impact was immediate and devastating. Alien forces across the planet received word that their supreme commander had been killed by a single human with a primitive kinetic weapon. The implications shattered their confidence and military doctrine simultaneously. Within hours, alien forces began withdrawing to their ships. The Galactic Council, faced with the prospect of a prolonged and costly occupation, decided to cut their losses. Earth was reclassified as a hostile world to be avoided rather than conquered. As the alien fleet departed Earth's solar system, Riley stood on the same mountainside where he had taken his most important shot. The war was over, won not by superior technology or overwhelming force, but by human determination, skill, and the precise application of what aliens had called primitive weapons. The galaxy would remember Earth as the world that turned back the Galactic Council's expansion. Other species would study human tactics and weapons, learning new approaches to warfare that emphasized precision over power. And somewhere in the alien archives, Commander Vextar's final report would serve as a permanent reminder that technological superiority means nothing when faced with superior will and skill. The humans had proven that sometimes the most advanced weapon is the one in the hands of someone who truly knows how to use it. In the end, that was the difference between conquest and freedom, between surrender and resistance, between the advanced aliens and the primitive humans who had sent them fleeing into the darkness of space.